Hey guys, Kanoa Cook here. I recently just graduated from UC Berkeley, and previous to that, I transferred from community college. The whole process took me about 5.5 years, and so throughout that time, I learned a lot of tips, tricks, and there were a lot of hoops I had to jump through. And so my goal is to produce content so that you guys don't have to deal with that. Okay, so I'm still learning how to produce videos. Hey guys, Kanoa Cook here. What's up YouTube? My name is Kanoa Cook. Hey, what's up everybody? My name is Kanoa Cook. And you're watching Disney Channel. Okay, I don't know why. So please bear with me. And so what better time to start than now with all of us being stuck indoors? So if you're anything like me, you've been watching the news and you notice that the stimulus checks are just being released and the unemployment numbers are rising. And so in this episode, I wanted to cover what we could be doing as recent grads, college students, and even prospective college students. In the episode, I plan to cover topics like finances, and just college options. All right, so let's unpack the stimulus package. First off, we have the stimulus check. It's $1.2K that's awarded to Americans who are affected by COVID-19. And so if you made less than $75,000 in the 2019 year and filed as independent, you're eligible for this check. For many college students, this didn't apply, and so this was a little disappointing. However, the next one might apply to some of you college students. Unemployment is something that we pay into as Americans and lawful citizens. It is taken from our paychecks every pay period in the form of taxes. To those of us who have had jobs currently affected by COVID-19, I strongly urge you to apply. And for the college students who have worked summer internships, I would urge you to apply as well. Currently, during this pandemic, we're able to earn $500 per week on top of collecting unemployment ranging from $50 to $400 per week, depending on your earnings. Internships in their nature permit collecting unemployment even though you agree to fixed terms that your job will end by a certain date. You're allowed to collect due to a lack of work or complete a project. Depending on the state you worked in, you're eligible to collect as a full-time student as long as you're able to show that you're willing to accept work at the part-time or full-time level. So moving forward, this is something I wish I had known as a college student. The lump sum of $50 to $400 per week on top of Pell Grant would have made my living situation a lot nicer. So one thing that I have been looking into is the cost of attendance adjustment that is offered via the FAFSA. If a family member has had hospital bills, death, or the inability to find a job, you may be eligible. Also, they will help cover the cost of returning or storing belongings as well as the transportation home. And so this application is due before June 30th. So just to conclude this segment, I want to urge just to be cautious when applying for taxes the next year. It might be tempting to just say independent from here on out just because of this COVID-19 situation. However, your family might earn more money via taxes if you file as dependent. So I urge you to talk with them and figure out which scenario works best for your family. The general rule of thumb is if your family supports more than 50% of your income, you're dependent. However, there is also a scenario, which I plan to cover in the next topic, that could help you out as far as earning more money back. Maybe not through taxes, but through financial aid if you're a student. All right, so the next segment I want to talk about the recent grads. So for those of you out there, class of 2019, class of 2020, you realized how hard it is to apply for a job right now. And so if there's one piece of advice I could give, it is this. Breathe. Some pretty crappy advice, honestly, but it's also the best advice. So applying for jobs is going to be even harder with this COVID-19 going around. And so the job market's directly going to be affected by this. Only thing you could do is control yourself. And so when you apply for jobs, just in general, it's a soul-sucking process. You are sending out at least 10 applications per hour, so maybe 12 applications per day if you have 2 productive hours. On top of, you're preparing for interview questions. It could be resume questions, personality, or technical. And so this whole time, you're just so wrapped up in preparing for this job that you lose yourself, your sense of self. You lose your humanity. And so just breathe, just remain patient and know that a lot of you guys are in the same situation. So if you set aside 1 hour in the morning and 1 hour at night, that's 12 applications per day. And you have the rest of your day to go about being human. Only start preparing for the interviews maybe a day, 2 days before you actually hear back from a company. However, one thing I want to stress is if you're going to be applying for these jobs, you want to make sure that your resume looks good. And so later on, I plan to release an episode just giving general resume tips and interview tips to help you guys with this whole recruiting process. Another train of thought is this. We have our whole lives to work. And so if you're comfortable with your current living situation, if you're with family, whatever, it might be a good time to just take a step back. And so if there's some self-growth that you wanted to work on, now's the time to do it. If you want to get closer with your family, if you want to reach out to friends, or just work on a personal hobby, now is a better time than ever. And so my second piece of advice is to just work on yourself. I mean, we tune in on Instagram and we see all these feeds of people who are learning how to craft, cook, bake, what have you. But now's the best time to do it, especially with a low job market, and especially with companies not even knowing what their immediate future is. Do whatever you have to do in order to feel personal growth. I could give more tips on this, but I think Instagram's doing a pretty good job of it already. Okay, wait, before you click out of this video, I do have one more suggestion, and it's a little bit better than the previous two. So if you're hurting for cash right now and you want to do something productive that's gonna look good on your resume, I would check out tutoring. And so I think tutoring would be a great option because 1, you're actively using your brain, 2, you're making a little bit of money, and 3, you're helping out kids. Like, that looks good no matter what. And so when thinking about the next wave of applications for, let's just say in 2020, there's gonna be a gap of employment for the majority of applicants. However, you might stand out a little bit more if you're able to say that you tutored during these months. So that kind of concludes my segment on earning money. And now I want to talk about some tips that we could be doing moving forward. So if we're still struggling to find a job in this market, one thing I would suggest is higher education. So applying for that master's degree, or maybe even going to community college and taking some sort of supplemental classes. And so the reason why I bring this up is because if you filed as an independent for 2019, when filing for FAFSA for the 2020, they're going to look at your income during this year. And so when they see that you didn't earn much money, you'll earn a lot for the Pell Grant. And so what better time than now to earn that master's degree or to take those classes that could help you learn more of a technical skill while your earnings are low, so that you earn more financial aid now than you would 5 years from now when you're a mid-career, early career professional. So for those students who had more of a theoretical degree, it might be useful to match it with some sort of technical degree like finance or computer science, just to kind of add a little notch into your belt. And for those of us who are in engineering or sciences, it might be beneficial to get that master's degree because, well, it might make us more competitive on the market. So this one's kind of an obscure case, but it might apply to you. So if you have very high loans with a big interest rate, you might be able to defer them if you spent less than 6 years in college by enrolling in community college. So it's $600 per semester, give or take. You just have to be a full-time student, and you're able to take classes and push back the interest rate. So if you want to work that part-time job or even a full-time job and still retain college status, you can, and keep your interest rates low and learn a new skill in the process. So I don't want to bore you guys with data. However, your boy did his work. And so I want to support some of the things I said with things that I've read on the internet. So first off, looking at the trends from the 07-08 recession, we see that unemployment hit those with an associate's degree or just a high school diploma harder than those with a bachelor's degree. Stanford economist Carolyn Hawksby has wrote about how during a recession, academic interest increases. People are less likely to get a job or get a raise. And in fact, people will sign a job for 10% less money than they would during a healthy market on average. And so we see that people who typically weren't interested in education before are now beginning to show interest because the job growth that they would have expected to get straight out of high school is simply not there because they're unable to find a job. And so what we see is that the market starts to converge on a more educated workspace. Also, kind of a loose statistic, but during recession, Pell Grant recipients tend to receive more money than they would during a healthy year. And so this is also combated with universities increasing their tuition. Take the statistic however you'd like. I don't want to dive too far down this path. However, I found some of this information very useful, and so I'll be sure to include it in the description below. Okay, so you've made it this far. Thank you. Didn't think you'd make it here, but here we are. So now I want to talk to all of the high school grads and people who are interested in maybe applying for community college during this recession. All right, so my high school grads, congratulations on making this far. I know it was like a long 4 years and it sucks to not really get the celebrations that you were looking for with prom night, graduation night, and just being a senior. I kind of resonate since my senior year of college was kind of foregoed by this whole situation. However, let's start thinking about college in the next step. So if money was tight, it's bound to be a little bit tighter now with just job insecurity and as far as just our whole society being unsure with what's going to happen in the future. And so I want to facilitate the conversation and start thinking about which step you want to do, going straight to university or going to community college. And I might be biased because I went to community college before university. However, community college gave me the opportunity to go to a better school than the ones that I got accepted to coming out of high school. So I plan to launch a full episode about the pros and cons of both, the statistics too, but I just want to facilitate the conversation because with the whole school system possibly going virtual for 2020, that's another whole year of critical experiences that could be gone since you won't get that freshman dorm experience. And so I want to paint the picture as far as the pros and cons and not putting a dollar sign to a peace of mind, I guess you could say. And I want to be able to, I want to advocate for community college because it could save your family a lot of money and it could allow you to experience a lot of self-growth during this period of time. All right, and so for those of you who are now considering college, welcome. It's never too late. I've taken classes with, I've taken classes with 60-year-olds in community college, and then when transferring, there's a couple people who are above 28 in my lectures, and they have some remarkable stories, and I hope to share them with you too, just because they did it. It was kind of crazy to think of some of the hoops they had to jump through in order to get their education, and so if there's the will, there's the way, and I want to help pave that way. But I would stress looking at the Caroline Hawksby excerpt just to see more statistics about what you're up against applying for the job market without the education, as opposed to taking the time to get re-educated, and the pros and cons of both. All right, so you guys made it this far. I just want to say huge thank you to watching this video. If I left some information out, please leave a comment below or email me at the link and just let me know things that I could have talked about, and I will be sure to pump out another episode in order to address this. But since this virus hit, I have a lot more free time on my hands and I want to start producing my content. So please like and subscribe to my channel just so I know that this content is actually wanted. And also if you have questions about just anything community college or university, even career related, feel free to message me. But yeah, thank you guys for watching.